Hi there, my name is Marty Owings. Today I'm going to cover the top 10 art supplies. Over the past 15 years, I've been buying, testing, and reviewing art supplies of every kind from all over the world on this channel. I'm not just a guy who collects art supplies, though. I actually use them every day. Obviously, these are my choices based on years of experience, and they might not necessarily agree with everyone else's opinions or ratings, and I think that's okay. Today we're going to narrow things down a bit, kind of get right to the point and get to the best of the best. Everything you see in the video today has been reviewed on my channel before, along with hundreds of other art supplies. But let's kick things off with a cup of coffee. Speaking of cups of coffee, if you enjoy the content on my channel and appreciate the work that goes into producing the videos, please consider supporting me. All you have to do is go ahead and click on this link right here on my channel and then jump in, sign up for a membership. You'll get a special gift if you're in the continental US. And for everyone else with a membership, you'll get some exclusive content and early access to some upcoming videos. A huge thank you to those who have already contributed a cup of coffee or a membership. But once you click that link, you'll end up on this cup of coffee website, and you can go in there and you can sign up for a membership or just drop a little love on the channel with a cup of coffee. And you could order a book too. I have my books available on there as well. So just head on over to Cup of Coffee if you like the content and help support the channel. I really appreciate that support. All right, let's jump in. Let's start with pencils, and intentionally start with pencils because we all started somewhere. Maybe it was a crayon, but then at some point it was a pencil, right? We started drawing with a pencil, and so pencils are important. And when I tell you that I've used and reviewed a lot of pencils, it's only part of the story. I've had a pencil in my hand for drawing and writing as far back as I can remember. Now it's true, there's lots of different kinds of pencils. Graphite wash, colored pencils, watercolor pencils, charcoal pencils, photo pencils, round pencils, clutch pencils, big pencils, small pencils, all kinds of pencils. So to narrow it down here, I just wanted to look at some of the best pencils in the world. This one happens to be a Caran d'Ache graphwood pencil. And then here's a Derwent sketching pencil. This is a really nice pencil with a thick round barrel, always made high quality by Derwent. And I love using this pencil in my day-to-day sketching, and it's in my kit. And you can just see that heavy lead there. It's really a nice pencil to use. Now, Derwent makes a whole line of different types of pencils for sketching and drawing, and you can find those on the Derwent website. And obviously, I like them, and I think they're great. Here's another Derwent pencil. It's called the Derwent Graphic pencil, and it's pretty nice. It's a hexagonal pencil made in Great Britain, and this won't slide off a tilted work surface if you use it. This one happens to be a 3B. I like a little softer, darker lead in my work, but others may prefer a harder pencil. Here's a Faber-Castell. This is the venerable 9000. This pencil has been around forever, and Faber-Castell just does a nice job with their pencils. Now this is a different kind of Faber-Castell. This is a Pitt graphite matte pencil, which if you know what a graphite shine is, you won't get that from that pencil, that matte pencil. This is a wash pencil, a Faber-Castell graphite wash pencil, which I use quite a bit for graphite wash. Very nice pencil. This one here, this is an art graph pencil. This is a very heavy type of lead in this pencil. This is, again, a Caran d'Ache, a Swiss-made pencil. You can see how thick the barrel of that lead is. And this here, this is a classic yellow number 2. This one happens to be orange, but the classic yellow number 2 pencil is exactly like this. This is probably the first pencil you used in school or similar to it. It's got an eraser on it, and you can do a lot with that pencil. But my favorite pencil in the world is this Caran d'Ache graphwood pencil. It's just so high quality, so well made, and so well put together. It just draws beautifully. It's got a great cedar casing, and the core is just super high quality. If you're going to buy one pencil, that's the one to buy. Now let's take a look at some lead holders. Lead holders are interesting because they're really environmentally friendly in some ways. You're not going to cut down a tree every time you go through the lead in this pencil. So, it's a permanent long-term solution to having to buy pencils. And yes, you will need to replace the lead in this pencil. And they sell these. You just insert, this happens to be a 2mm lead, but you just insert the lead into that little clutch there. And then there's a kind of a special sharpener for those leads, but they sharpen up quite nice. This happens to be a Faber-Castell, but you could use that sharpener on any type of lead holder. Now this is a Rotring Tiki. It's more like a mechanical pencil, but I put it in the category of lead holders because it holds leads, and that makes sense to me. Now mechanical pencils do have their own category, so I don't mean to sell them short, but this particular pencil or lead holder is pretty awesome. It's got a rubberized grip. It feels good in the hands. It's got the right weight. This is a Caran fixed pencil, another lead holder. So it's hexagonally shaped. It's made in Switzerland. It's well put together. But my favorite and best lead holder is this TK 9600 Faber-Castell. I have a couple of them. I love them. I use them constantly in my practice. I've never had any trouble with these at all. They've fallen over rocks, fallen off my motorcycle. I went and found them and picked them up, and along with a bunch of other stuff that dropped off, it worked just fine. How about the best pencil sharpener you can buy? This here's an Alvin right here, this pencil sharpener, and it sharpens very nicely. Comes with a glass jar, so some people worry about the fragility of it, but it's got a nice blade inside here. It's a German-made blade, and it cuts well into the pencil, works really good, sharpens pencils very nicely. I never, ever use a mechanical sharpener because they eat pencils, and if you're going to spend some money on a good pencil, the last thing you want to do is stick it into a mechanical sharpener. Now here's another dual sharpener by Faber-Castell. It sharpens it sharpens in two ways. It'll give you a fine point and then a wider point on this sharpener. It's pretty nice. So I was just going to make an example of what happens when you get a hold of a pencil that the lead breaks off quite a bit. You can't sharpen it very well. And just making an example of this very intentionally, using both sharpeners, because in a moment I want to show you a way, I think the best way to sharpen really good pencils. So I'll stick the pencil in here. I'm trying to keep it straight so it doesn't bend the angle, but you can still see the lead continues to break off. Now this is a knife I'm going to use. It's kind of like an X-Acto knife, and I'm just going to use it to sharpen the pencil. And with this, you can be very precise and delicate, and you don't have to worry about the lead breaking off. So I like that. How about the best colored pencils in the world? I know people have a lot of opinions on the best colored pencils, and I'm just going to narrow it down here to a couple of different kinds. I've got the Faber-Castell Polychromos here, but if you look back at my channel at the videos, you will literally find dozens and dozens of different kinds of colored pencils. This is a Caran Luminance 6901. Love these pencils. They're very high quality. Again, Caran doesn't make a bad product. They're all just really excellent. This is a great, you can see the natural wood casing, the colors on the tip. It's clearly spelled out what this pencil is and what it does, and they're very light fast. I've tested these over years and years, and they are just really excellent pencils. That said, if I compare the Polychromos to that Luminance, I think I have to hand it to the Polychromos just because of the utility, the variation in colors. They got so many more colors. They're just an excellent colored pencil, very consistent. That isn't to say they're higher quality, they're just excellent pencils. How about the best watercolor pencil in the world? A lot of people are going to have opinions on this as well. I'm just kind of narrow it down again. I like the Faber-Castell here. These are the Art Grip, Faber-Castell Art Grip pencils, but they also make a line called Albrecht Dürer, and those are great watercolor pencils as well. But you can see here they're called the Art Grip Aquarelle. Colors on the tip. They've got these little rubberized nibs there so that it's really easy to hold these in the hands. And this is a triangular shape pencil, which is interesting. And it also doesn't fall off of a tilted work surface, which is very nice. These are great pencils. I use these quite a bit over the years. This is a brand new set here, so I had to replace an old set, which I was very happy to do. Now, what do we have here? This is another Swiss-made product by Karen Dosch. This is the Museum Aquarelle watercolor pencil. And for my money, these are the finest pencils in the world when it comes to watercolor pencils. You can't spend money and buy a better watercolor pencil than this one. They are so excellent, so consistent, and so loaded with pigment that I have never ever been disappointed using these excellent pencils. The only problem I have is like I don't want to use them because they're precious. But that said, I do use them, and you can't get these in open stock very often, but you can get them in sets. And the sets aren't cheap at all, but they're worth every single penny. Now, they've got a light fast rating right on them. This one you can see is 4 stars, and they're just so well made. They are also hexagonal, so they won't slide off a tilted work surface. So if I was going to say the best pencils in the world, you've got the Faber-Castell Art Grip, the Albrecht Dürer color pencil, watercolor pencil by Faber-Castell, and you've got these Karen Dosch Museum Aquarelle pencils, which are absolutely amazing. They knock it out of the park in light fastness and pigment and color. They go down like butter. They're just the best in the world at watercolor pencils. And like most Swiss products, you won't find any quality issues with these whatsoever, and you shouldn't for the price you're going to pay. They cost a lot, but they are the best. If there are a lot of different kinds of pencils in the world, there is a heck of a lot of different kinds of ink pens in the world. Not only pens, but types of pens and types of ink in the pens and all of those things. So finding the best pen in the world is going to be pretty much subjective, and everybody's going to have an opinion depending on how they use it, just like everything else in a top 10 list. But let's start out by looking at some of these ink pens. And first of all, let's talk about the types of pens that you can actually buy out there on the market. There's ballpoint, dip, technical, fountain, quill, gel, flex nib, demonstrator, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of different kinds of pens, and there are a lot of manufacturers of pens. I've reviewed or used every single pen that's listed here, the type of pen and the manufacturer over the years. So I'm just trying to narrow it down to basically a sketching pen, or a pen that's more technical in nature, I guess you would say. I've used, like I said, many of these pens over the years. I used to use this Tropic pen quite a bit. It's got an aluminum body. It's very nice. It's got a fine tip. It would occasionally bend. It's the multi-liner SP that the tip would wear out and bend, but I liked it just the same. Now, the classic Bic pen, people will laugh at this, but this ballpoint pen is probably responsible for some of the finest art I've ever seen in the world. There's a gentleman that does portraiture with that pen, and it's awesome. This is a Pilot Precise, a rolling ball pen. I use this pen every day at work, and I love this pen for its both its efficiency, its consistency, and the fact that it's pretty inexpensive. I bought a box of them and I just use them. That one's made in Japan, like this Micron Pigma pen right here, which is the favorite of many, many artists, pen artists, ink artists. It's another pen, as I mentioned, made in Japan. It's got permanent ink. It's a very, very solid pen for any kind of sketching or technical writing, and it's not scratchy on paper. Even on like cold press watercolor paper, it works great. It's even better on like a Bristol paper. It's just a really nice pen. And then I use this Staedtler multi-liner pen, which is a really, really awesome pen as well. It's made in Germany. It's just high quality. The ink is great in that pen. And I use both of these in the 0.5 size most of the time. I'll use the finer lines if I need to do some additional detail. But this, yeah, I'm sorry, I said multi-liner. It's a pigment liner pen, and it's very nice. And it's hard to beat and go better. Now, I've left the cap off this pen overnight and picked it up and used it the next day, and it's been fine. Although I've done that with both the Micron and this pen and just had no trouble. So it's really tough once you narrow everything down. And I know there's fancier pens out there in order to talk about them, but hard to choose between those two. If you want a white pen, a pen that's going to give you color white, I recommend the Uniball Signo UM153 because it's just an excellent pen. Another one that's made in Japan. I love Uniball pens. Back in the day, I used to draw a lot with Uniball and then figured out at some point that the ink that went down black eventually fades. Now this is a Noodler's pen here. This is a fountain pen. A lot of people use this pen in sketching. I've nothing to say bad about this. I use this myself. I love this pen for the fact that you can, suck the ink right up into it. You don't have to use cartridges or anything. It's got kind of this self-filling mechanism, so you just pull on the little vacuum seal there and it sucks it right up. But the best pen I think you can buy is this Micron Pigma pen from Japan. I love using it. It's a great pen for me. Comes in a lot of different variety of sizes and even colors. And it's permanent ink. What about these? What are these pens called? Dip pens, right? These two are vintage. These have been in my collection for a long time. One of these my dad owned, and he's an artist. And the other one I picked up at like an antique store at some point. I love dip pens. They're if you have like an ink blotter or a piece of paper, you can get a little bit of the ink off before you start to write. Sometimes that helps with these older ones. But my favorite dip pen here, and I didn't really rate these, but this is one that's very special to me. This is a Steve Mitchell dip pen. This is a guy from the Mind of Watercolor channel. If you don't know him, you should go over there and get to know him. He's also a good friend of mine, and he turned this wood himself and built this pen, and I love it. I use it sparingly because it is such a prized possession, but yeah, thank you, Steve, for making a really nice, beautiful object and writing instrument. Really appreciate this. So just to talk about kind of premium writing instruments, this is at one time or another, I splurged and put down a significant amount of cash that I'd saved up on this Ecuador, Caran d'Ache Ecuador pen. And it is a fountain pen, and it is a work of art. It's elegant in its design. Its weight is perfect. The ink flows out of it like at a perfect rate. It's just a beautiful, beautiful pen. And like I said, it is a work of art. So if I ever have to go to a meeting where I have to sign an important document like my mortgage or something else like that, this is the pen I'm going to bring with me. I reviewed this pen on my channel before. You can find that video out there, as you can with everything. Hear that click? Very satisfying. But this is just a beautiful work of art. Like I said, I don't want to have it in a museum either, so I do use it from time to time, but on special occasions because it is such an elegant writing instrument. All right, now I did a video on the top 5 favorite watercolors that turned into 10 at one time, and this is kind of a recheck into that, kind of narrowing things down. I've got some M.Graham, Daniel Smith, and Schmincke paints here. This is my watercolor palette. You can tell it's well used. Most of the paints in these half pans here are either Schminke or Daniel Smith, with the exception of blue and yellow on the end, which are M.Graham. So I don't buy the half pans anymore. I just kind of buy the tubes and fill my half pans in my palette, and that's just, it works just fine for me. Yeah, this is pretty old watercolor kit I have here. I've been using it for 20 years. There's the M.Graham. I love M.Graham paints. They're Steve Mitchell's favorites. I know that. I also love the Daniel Smith paints, made in America, really fine paints. And these are the Schminke, and you'll notice that if I have to eliminate one, which I have to right now, I'm kind of going to set aside the M.Graham for a second and just kind of look at the Daniel Smith and the Schminke. So if I look at this Daniel Smith, and I can see pretty quickly that this is a single pigment paint. This happens to be a phthalo blue, which you'd expect. Here's another blue, and that's a single pigment paint as well. Now, single pigment paint isn't the end-all be-all, but it's nice to know. Here's another single pigment in the Horadam, Schminke Horadam, Aquarelle, which is a fancy way for saying artist-grade watercolor paints. And so if I have to eliminate one, I said like I would do that, which is really hard to do. So, sorry, M.Graham. Now I'm down to Daniel Smith and Schminke, which are, yeah, I mean, it's like you're on a desert island. Someone's got a gun to your head. Which one do you choose? They're both excellent, and they're both great paints. But for my money, the Schminke paints are still the best. I rated them #1 5 years ago. I haven't changed my mind. I use them every day. They're so consistent, so good, so well manufactured, and so well made that, again, the best watercolor you can use is this, in my opinion, is the Schminke Horadam Artist Watercolor Paint. Now, I don't know if this is going to blow your mind or not, but over the past 15 years, I've tried 142 different kinds of sketchbooks. That's right, 142 different kinds of sketchbooks. A lot of those are maybe 10 from the same manufacturer, or 5 or 3 or whatever, but that's how many sketchbooks I've tried and used in the field over the past 15 to 20 years. And I had to narrow it down here to kind of the best of the best. So when it comes to the best of the best, I'm kind of down to 2 sketchbooks. The Arches, this is a travel book, 100% cotton, same paper you find in their blocks, and then the Hahnemühle paper. This paper is made in Dassel, Germany, and they've been making paper there for 500 years, much like Faber-Castell has been making paper, and other companies, venerable paper makers, have been on the same forged veneers that were around 150 years ago, 200 years ago. This book, this sketchbook, for my money, is the best in the world. This is and I'm kind of doing away with the suspense because I just get right down to it. After testing all those watercolor books, I just haven't found one that's better than Hahnemühle. There is, I know, the Etcher sketchbook. It's 100% cotton too. There's a lot of honorable mentions in there, a lot of great sketchbooks, but frankly, none better than this one. And if you want to see reviews on a lot of different sketchbooks that I've done, just go check out my channel and the videos and you'll find those. Kudos to you, Hahnemühle, for the best sketchbook. All right, moving on to the best gouache. Now, it was tough to narrow down the gouache because there's so many good gouache makers out there. Many, many manufacturers do gouache, and they're fine gouache paints. But if you get down to 2, for me, it's the Holbein, Japanese-made artist-grade gouache, and the Schminke gouache, which are both, they're artist-grade gouache, which are both outstanding gouaches. You'll find that they're mostly single pigment gouaches, or in a very excellent color gouache. They go down well. They last a long time. They're light fast, obviously, for the most part. And they are just really well made. So if I get down to the two gouaches I use the most, these are it. And I actually, using the Schmincke watercolor led me to want to try their Horadam gouache, which is their artist grade gouache. It's not cheap by any stretch, but it is excellent gouache. But the best gouache I've used is this Holbein artist gouache. It's just an outstanding gouache. And I also find that I like it a little bit better because it has kind of different properties, goes down easier a little bit for me. Well, now this could be the point of much debate. What is the best brush? Well, again, this comes down to personal preference by the artist, and there's all different kinds of brushes for all different kinds of applications. So what I'm talking about when I pick my favorite brushes here is really in the sketching and using it with gouache or water media, like watercolor and gouache or casein, things like that. I'm not really oil painting much these days, and if I was, I'd probably pick some different brushes. This is an Isabey brush. This is a mop brush. It's a squirrel hair brush. I find that squirrel hair retains a little bit more water than maybe a synthetic brush, but I actually prefer using a synthetic brush just because of the environmental impact and being nice to animals and things like that. I think that the squirrel hair is responsibly sourced now, and they're very careful about that, but I just kind of lean towards a synthetic brush if I can use it. Now, when you get down to these two brushes, the one's a Da Vinci and the other one is an Escoda brush. And here, just a quick look at the Da Vinci Cosmotop flat. I use this flat a lot if I want to draw, like, just block things in. That works good too. Here's an Escoda Versatile Synthetico brush. Very, very nice synthetic hair brush. Very well made. Put together. Never had any trouble with these. Obviously made in Spain. That one, the Da Vinci here, this is a sable hair brush, as is this number 6 and the number 4 here. I don't really notice that much of a difference between sable and synthetic, so I tend to use, again, the synthetic. Now this is the brush I use most often in the field, which is a Pentel water brush, because I can put my water in the brush and I don't have to carry extra water with me or cups or anything like that. The one drawback is they only last so long. But my favorite brush is this Escoda Versatile Synthetico brush. Again, made in Spain. Just a beautiful, beautiful brush. You can tell it's high quality. The bristles are excellent. And for a synthetic brush, I mean, I know people say that, but it's just a fantastic brush. Here's kind of a bonus look at a travel set of Escoda brushes that I got as a gift one year from my wife, and I love these brushes. So if you go ahead and open these up, they're kind of like all stacked in a row. They're very nice, and you could just pull them out here. You turn it around, it clicks right in, and you've got yourself a brush. And these come in a variety of sizes, which are really, really nice. I take these sketching with me, and they're just fantastic. You've always got all the sizes you need right in a compact format. They come in that nice case and stuff. I also find if they do come loose in my bag or anything, they got that nice metal wrap on there, that chrome, so no damage, no foul, no harm, and they store away nicely here. Thanks, kids. Well, here's the top 10. These are all the supplies, art supplies I've used over the past, couple of decades, really. And this is what I found are the best of the best. So if you want to go and look up these on my channel, like I said, there's videos for all this stuff and many, many more. Here's some bonus bests that I wanted to look at and bring to you because there are just so many art supplies you can look at in a video. But here we go. Here's some erasers, and I wanted to just talk about these a little bit. This art gum, I use a classic art gum eraser. It's a great eraser for pencil work. The Staedtler Mars Plastic works on ink as well. I love this little eraser too. This is a nice one. Don't even know if you can get this eraser anymore. This is a kind of a cool one. You can actually resupply this. It's got spares in the bottom, and I'll show you. Insert it here. It's kind of a clever idea. You push it up, and boom, kind of like a lip gloss or whatever, lipstick case. Heck, what am I saying? I don't know anything about that, but just push it up, and there it is. And this is one that comes with a pencil sharpener in it. That's a novelty. That's a Factus. Here's a Prismacolor. There's a Mono. It's an old typewriter eraser. Works on ink pretty well. This is a Derwent dual eraser. One side ink, one side pencil. Another vintage Union one. Yeah, here's a Technic. This is a Caran d'Ache eraser, which is really nice. Faber-Castell makes a dust-free eraser, which I use. Yep, back to the Staedtler Mars Plastic, made in Germany. The old classic Pink Pearl. It's a good eraser as well. But the best eraser is this one right here, in my experience. The Staedtler Mars Plastic is just a really, really nice eraser. Really versatile all the way around. I mean, all the erasers are pretty good here that I showed, but this is the one that I find myself using the most. Well, what is this clutch pencil thing here? Well, it's kind of got a larger lead in it. You can see it's, you know, a big, huge lead. You can buy even bigger ones. They're more chunky. This is a Quaco Sport, and I reviewed a bunch of these. They're fun to collect. I have a lot of these, so I like that clear one. This is a Lockby tool roll. In the traditional sense of a tool roll, you put your tools in it and you roll it up. And you can see here, this is pretty much my kit when I go sketch or paint from life on site. And inside this little pouch, I carry a sharpener. This is a little one. It's got a German blade there. The Staedtler Mars Plastic. That one's a little dirty. Spare water pen. Some Pigma markers. You can see it's got some pockets in here. Nice Pigma ink pens and all my pencils. Rolls right up. Clip it shut. Throw it in your backpack or bag or whatever, and you're good to go. Now, I reviewed this extensively. This is a sketch easel by Charlie Lee. He's an awesome sketch easel maker. I use this in the field quite a bit. It's beautiful too, but the brown holes there are magnets, and I'll show you what those are for here. Put on my metal watercolor kit, and it'll stay on this thing. And I just use it like this. I clip my sketchbook to the top there, and this won't come off. Those are 4 very strong magnets in the wood. So you can shake it, bump it around, and you're going to be in there good. Then I just mount it to my tripod with that mount there. Well, that's it for today. Don't forget to go over and check out the new Buy Me a Cup of Coffee page. Drop some love on the channel. It's really easy to do, or become a member and help me create more content. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by. This has been Marty for owingsart.com.